All right, so this morning you want to talk about the county politics when it comes to the impeachment motion of Nairobi County Assembly Speaker Beatrice Elachi. So I'd just like us to look at some of the allegations leveled against the county speaker, the embattled county speaker. Let's start with abuse of office. That there's abuse of office undermining the county assembly service board and failure to show leadership. So I'd like us to start with abuse of office. So when you look at the abuse of office, now members of the county assembly are saying that during the purchase of the speaker's house, Elachi interfered, bullied and also intimidated staff so as to get her way, and at the same time also undermining the county assembly service board. So that is when it comes to abuse of office, where the MCAs are saying that during the purchase of the speaker's house, that is Beatrice Elachi's house, she interfered, bullied and intimidated staff so as to get her way, and also undermining the county assembly service board. And also they're accusing Elachi of taking up functions of the county assembly board while at the same time subjecting board members to unnecessary suspicion and investigations. So that is an allegation that is connected. My explanation is connected with the undermining the county assembly service board. So when it comes to undermining the county assembly service board, just to remind you, the members of the county assembly are accusing Elachi of taking up functions of the county assembly board while at the same time subjecting board members to unnecessary suspicion and investigations. Also, Elachi has also been accused of failure to show leadership while in the county assembly. So this is a discussion that we want to have this morning with the two gentlemen in our studio. Just to remind you, before I introduce the gentlemen, just to remind you, 3 accusations leveled against Beatrice Elachi: abuse of office, undermining the county assembly service board, and failure to show leadership. So now I'd like us to just listen to what Beatrice Elachi had to say yesterday while she was in Malindi, and she said that some of the accusations leveled against her by the county assembly members are just mere accusations that do not hold any water. So just let's have a look at what Beatrice Elachi had to say yesterday while she was in Malindi.
Allegations are very interesting allegations. When you say you have stopped people to travel, I have members who have just come from Sweden. I have members who are leaving this week. Some of them are going to China. Some of them are going to Dubai. I have signed. So I don't know. My Muslim members, we have always ensured in any of their religious trips, we have supported. And I would wish also Treasury maybe to help me. Because, you know, when you pay people on IFMIS, it's not something that is running away. It will show that we have never denied anyone to travel, as long as you are telling us this is a travel of benchmarking, this is what you are going to bring back home, and this is how it is going to support Kenya. And I think that is what the policy says. So we have never denied. By the time I was coming here, I've signed so many, even some who are going to Unga. So I am wondering which letter is this is with the PS, and here am I continuing to sign travel, and here the PS is continuing to give them the opportunity to have a letter, because this is a circular that came from public service way back, before even I joined the county assembly to become their speaker.
All right, so now that is what embattled Nairobi County Assembly Speaker Beatrice Elachi had to say about plans concerning the impeachment motion against her. Remember, yesterday, about 103 members of the County Assembly voted to have the impeachment motion passed, and immediately the County Assembly received an order from the court saying that she's still in office until her case is heard and determined. So this morning in our studio, I'd like us to speak to 2 gentlemen. Seated immediately next to my right is Abel Oyeyo, who's Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko's political advisor, and seated next to Ayeyo is Mr. Ayeyo is Kevin Osindo, who's a governance expert from County Governance Watch. Gentlemen, you've had what let me say embattled County Assembly Speaker Beatrice Elachi has to say. And I'll start with you, Mr. Oyeyo, being the political advisor to Nairobi County Governor. what does the governor has to say? What can he say about this? Has he said anything?
Well, the governor is very concerned, of course, and this is not the kind of picture he wants the Nairobians to have of the county. He's always advocated for dialogue and negotiations, and I think he's disappointed. He would have expected MCS, of course, to sit down with the speaker and sort out the issues, because anytime the assembly has issues and MCS cannot work with the speaker, Nairobi slows down. And as you've seen, the last few days he's been busy working for Nairobians. So he's very disappointed that the speaker and the MCS cannot sort out the mess in a friendly manner. It is a disappointment.
But this is not the first time Elachi is finding herself
in hot water.
Yeah, in hot water with the MCAs. I mean, what has the Nairobi governor done about it since last year, actually in June? This year in June, rather.
Actually, the governor has been very key in bringing the MCS and the speaker together. And anytime there's a problem, he brings them, makes them sit down and they talk. But again, at the end of the day, it is a political process and you expect friction and conflicts. So what we're seeing is nothing new. It's part of in a democracy, the beauty of democracy is self-expression. MCS are disgruntled, they've come out and sent their message in a way, of course, they know best. So now it's the duty of the speaker to reach out to MCS, sit down and sort it out. No one is happy seeing, MCS fighting with the speaker and all that, because it slows down development. We're talking about Nairobi.
Yeah.
So the governor's position is the speaker and MCS sort the mess and give him easy time to work. Yes.
Mr. Osinda, are we likely to see that happening? Elachi sitting down with county assembly members who are already disgruntled?
I think probably the other question, in addition to what my friend Abel is talking about, is to really look at the underlying issues. But even before we look at the underlying issues, the question to ask is, who is Beatrice Elachi? This is a former nominated senator, nominated by the ruling party, whose chair, in fact, whose party leader is a sitting president. That's one. Two, who is a Speaker of a County Assembly. A Speaker of a County Assembly is not an elected MCA. He's an outsider to the membership of the County Assembly. But you also note that you don't just walk from your village and you get into the County Assembly as a Speaker, because a Speaker is a very powerful position. So what this, therefore, in my view, portends is a question of looking at, even beyond the Nairobi County government, the image of His Excellency the President, because I am very sure that even in the moving, in having Mheshimiwa Elachi as the Nairobi County Assembly Speaker, the executive and especially His Excellency the President might or may have had a very strong hand in that. So the question, in my view, is what is in the mind of His Excellency the President or the ruling party, which is Jubilee.
So are you trying to say, Mr. Osindo, that Jubilee party might come to her rescue?
Not necessarily her rescue per se, but I'm looking forward to a voice from Jubilee, because rescue or no rescue, this is a legal process, because the MCAs have a constitutional right to impeach their speaker if they so wish. There is also the bit of it which is the legal perspective. Did they follow the due process? Has she again been given a hearing? Has she been given an opportunity to defend herself? The other question is a political process, like what Abel is saying, so that we look at whose hand is this for or against Mheshimiwa Elachi. And then the other question is service delivery, which is now our concern as governance practitioners and citizens and people who vote. Because when these kind of things happen, then the question is, how much time are we spending, dealing with crisis, having people talking to each other, dialoguing and negotiating over positions vis-a-vis service delivery. And the last thing, in my view, is Nairobi County is not just any other county, because this is one of the top 3 counties in this country. Nairobi County is supposed to be the county that people want to be like. Most of the counties should admire to want to be like Nairobi, but I don't think in the recent past Nairobi has given us that kind of potent image. So probably the other call would be a call to leadership, both for the governor, because he also does not have a deputy. We are asking ourselves, what is all this? What is happening? If we probably give a blind eye to the reasons why the former deputy resigned, so there is also a leadership issue there, and then coming into the assembly to also want to see 103 sitting MCAs out of 127 is not a small number. So I think this also is a call to leadership and a call to order for the Nairobi County Assembly Speaker to really not just sit back, but to take a step backwards and ask yourself, what am I not doing, which these 103 out of 127 plus want me to do, and how am I supposed to engage with the team of the county assembly to be able to work together with the county government to deliver for the people of Nairobi who voted for this great office.
Okay, which begs the question, why were the MCAs in a hurry to impeach Elachi? Because what they did was, first of all, let me just get it right. First of all, what they did, apart from just accusing Elachi, they, before voting for the impeachment, which was yesterday, they amended the House procedures in removal of a speaker, until I'm correct, and stating that Elachi will not be required to appear before an ad hoc committee to defend herself. So it looks like they were in a hurry.
Now, I'd like to address a couple of issues before I get to what you've just said. Number one, whether or not the president was involved in Elachi's appointment or whatever, nomination and subsequent election as speaker, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, political patronage has to end. If I support you as a party leader and you get elected to opposition, you have to deliver. You cannot just sit and say, just because I was backed by so and so is very powerful, I'm going to do what?
So are you trying to say that the battle speaker is not
No, that is not what I'm saying is, whether you are supported by the party leader or not, once you get to opposition, you must work. So I'm not saying she's not working. That is number one. Number two, at the end of the day, like I said, democracy allows for self-expression in different ways, of course, without violence. So MCAs are the employers of the speaker. It's not the president. It's not the governor. So MCAs are what? The bosses of the speaker. Anytime the speaker does not, listen to MCAs, they're going to complain. And, she cannot expect the president to call MCAs and tell them, listen to the speaker. She has to actually earn that position, whether the president supported or not. That is very clear. Number two, MCAs, of course, have the powers to amend the House standing orders and procedures in order to get to where they want to go, so long as they're in agreement. You see, the number, as he said, 103, was very big. So they agreed, they voted, they made those amendments, and they impeached her. Well, whether it was done hurriedly or not is not the issue. The issue is what led to that. Now, it's upon the speaker to actually reach out, and at the end of it all, it's all about dialogue. There's no any other way out. They have to sit down, work together, and find a common ground.
Which begs the question, Mr. Oyeyo. Why were these members of the county assembly in a hurry to impeach Elachi? Because they even changed the House procedure of preventing her, giving her the chance to actually defend herself.
Let me say something. Before it blows up, usually it boils down there. Yeah, so it's not just one day they decided to come out and say, now we're going to impeach the speaker. It means they've been having what? Issues. They've complained, most likely, a couple of times. And what has happened is they've gotten to a point where they feel like our issues are not being addressed. So again, legal, I think they're within the law, both the standing orders, House procedures, and the Constitution. They're protected by that. So that's why I say the only way out is a political process. They have to sit down, work together. As the county government, we're very concerned because when the assembly is not in order, our development agenda, the manifesto of the governor gets derailed, as you see. And something else he talked about, the absence of a deputy governor has not slowed down development. In fact, the president, deputy president, and even Raila are very excited at the leadership of the county. You can see what we've done a couple of days ago.
But I didn't say it's slowed
yes.
down.
So let me clear this from the minds of so many people. The absence of a deputy governor does not mean there's no leadership at the county. Mr. Sid, I'm sure you agree with me, right?
Okay, just hold on to your thought, Mr. Oye and Mr. Osido. Just hold on to your thought because I'm seeing like you really want to respond to what Mr. Oye has said. I'd like us to listen to what Elachi had to say when it comes to Jubilee Party, because the question here is, will the Jubilee parties probably come to her rescue? So let's just listen in to what she has to say.
I want to ask also the political parties and both sides that, in the political, the majority and the minority, I want to ask Jubilee that it will be unfair if every time we have such an issue, members are de-whipped, removed from committees, members are threatened that they won't travel. It is not right. So it is the political parties also to look at the issue so that they ask themselves, is it right for members to live in the assembly with fear that they will be de-whipped from, if you don't sign for Madam Speaker to go, you are de-whipped. I don't think. And I came from a political party, so I want to ask also the political party, if you feel Beatrice Elachi is not doing right the work that Jubilee gave me, then you have a right to just write to me, because I'm told it is the party stand. So I don't know if it is the party stand of Jubilee to ensure. They don't need to make the members go through all what they're going through. They just need to write, and I will respect, because it is a party. I will respect and move, and let the right person come and work. I think that's the most important thing.
Right, you've heard what Elachi has to say, and she's saying if it's the party that probably wants her out, the party should just come out clearly and say it, not choose members of the county assembly. And if county assembly members feel like she has an issue, she wants to know what the party has to say. Mr. Sido.
I think that is neither here nor there. And I'm really surprised that is coming from Mheshimiwa's, rather, she has those kind of sentiments, because I think once you are a sitting speaker, you really are not like any other member of a political party, and you're guided by the law and the constitution, the standing orders of the House, or rather of the Assembly, among other supportive legislations. And one of these is more or less to say Article 178 of the Constitution, which really prescribes how you elect a county assembly speaker. We move on to County Governments Act, Section 11, which also points out the removal of a speaker and all this. And I don't think that what the members of Nairobi County Assembly did, if we were to look at those steps, which in fact I'm not surprised, or I'm neither shocked nor am I surprised that the court has already reinstated or rather given her a reprieve, because if you were to move through those steps, the rule of natural justice is that when you're accused, then you also need to be given a fair hearing so that you defend yourself, which I don't think, as it were, or rather as it is right now, Mheshimiwa Elachi has been given that kind of platform.
And that is why I asked the question, why were the members of the county assembly so much in a hurry? Because they even had to change the House procedure for Elachi not to appear before and had a committee to defend herself.
Which then could probably bring in the reason as to why Mheshimiwa Elachi is of the opinion that probably it is a party stand to move things the way they are moving. But I think that also talks about strengthening of institutions, so that we look at what is the place of a political party in such a mechanism. When you already have gone through your nominations, you already have presented your names through the party list and people have been nominated. You have a procedure and a process of having people elected as speakers to various county assemblies. And what's happening in the Nairobi County City County Assembly is really a replica of what's happening in all the other counties, because governors are finding, and in fact they are finding innovative means and ways to engage with their county assemblies. Speakers are also doing the same. They are finding innovative ways to engage with their MCAs, which probably is the only reason I would agree with my friend Abel that Mheshimiwa also needs to negotiate. But if I were to be asked, negotiate over what? You have TORs that you're supposed to deliver upon. The voters and residents of Nairobi are expectant of very serious service delivery elements, and we know that without a strong county assembly, it will be very difficult. In fact, development processes for Nairobi County would be slowed down, because the county assembly is the one that passes the budget. It is the county assembly that legislates over laws that are supposed to even support fair environment for doing business, for doing our own things, for service delivery. If you have issues like the ones we are seeing at the county assembly, then automatically even the citizens are going to be affected. So I think this is a call to order. There is need for us to look at what we are not doing very rightly and have things done in the right manner. And if there are gaps, because we are now doing the second generation of devolved governance in this country, if there are areas that we need to learn from, I think it's high time we picked those issues and then just fix them and find a way of delivering for the people.
And Mr. Oye, you've had some of the allegations leveled against Elachi, abuse of office, corruption, and intimidation. What do you have to say about these allegations, or is it just mere politics?
Now, by the time the MCAs have decided to come out and impeach the speaker, so much has happened which we might not be aware of. So it's not like they decided to come out and say, oh, today we're going to do what? To impeach this. This we do because we don't like him. Remember, these are the same people who voted for the speaker overwhelmingly. I think she got more than 90 votes. And what I'd like to say is this. There's nothing like, the legal process not having been followed. If you go that way, she'll actually be the loser at the end of the day, because
why would she be the loser at the end of the day?
What they'll do, they'll go back, okay, and adhere to the same principles as they are in the Constitution and the standing orders, and send her away. So that is not the best path to follow, if I were to be asked. Then number two, abuse of office, of course. When you keep on talking about, maybe she was seconded to the country by the president or something like that, you make the MCS feel very small, because at the end of the day, according to the Constitution and our perception as, Nairobi County voters, she was voted in by the MCS. So she's answerable to the MCS. At the end of the day, of course, we have political patronage and the unseen hands pulling strings here and there, but we don't have to just make it obvious. MCS have to be respected. One of the reasons why the governor is very popular among MCS is he consults them. When he wants to do something, he talks to them from time to time. If you actually touch the governor, they'll do what? They'll tell you, no, that is our boss. So what I'd advise the speaker to do is to reach out. She may have been supported by the party to become a speaker. Now, for me, going forward, it's a duty to reach out and be part of what? The assembly. At the end of the day, socialization tells us once you work with people, once you're close to them, they find it very hard to antagonize you. And something else I'd like to say is this. Elachi is not a newcomer to politics. No, she's been there. She was a nominated senator. I think she was part of... She's been in the game for long.
Yeah.
So for her to come out and talk about the political party and something like that, remember MCAs from both political parties, so DM and whatever, including ANC, came out and voted in favor of what? Impeachment. So she cannot talk about a political party. Which one? Jubilee? No, because even the minority party was there as well. They voted overwhelmingly to do what? Send her away. So it's not an issue of the political party coming in to say, actually I'm told the former Prime Minister made a phone call to the MCAs and they said, no, we have a reason why we want her out, and they laid out their concerns, and then the former Prime Minister said, okay.
So, Mr. Oye, from your explanation,
Yes.
Just from Osido's reaction, I'll give you time to respond to Mr. Oye's statement. From your explanation, it looks like you sort of agree with what the MCAs have done.
No, what I'd like to see...
With the allegations.
Yeah, number one, I'd like to see the absence of talking about I was sent to the assembly by so and so. We have to stop with that, okay? And then number two, I advocate for dialogue. We cannot talk about... And I've told you, if you go the legal way, the MCAs will have the idea and they'll win.
They'll still remove her.
That is it.
Okay.
So that's what I'm talking about. Negotiation. They sit down and talk, because I know they can always find a way out. They've talked about so many things. Talk about the residence of the speaker. Talk about her, leaving to the US for some kind of procedure that I do not know. They've talked about so many things. This can only be sorted out in a conversation. They have to talk. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Sido, you had something to say?
I like what he's saying, but then the question is, for how long will this talk last? Because this is not the first time this is happening. In June, just a few months ago, they also threatened to impeach Mheshimiwa Elachi. It's not the first time that this is happening. And I think for me, from a governance perspective, this really is, Nairobi County is also not a unique county per se. Yes, it is unique because it is the seat of power. But when we see these kind of things happening, or rather coming up, then it needs to really give us a sense of what to do. And that's why I said, are there gaps that we need to fix in our second generation of devolved governance? What are they? So for instance, Kenya has some of the best laws. If it's about asset, disposal and purchase, we have those laws. If it's about procurement, we have those laws. So if it is about investigations, we have the strongest directorate of criminal investigations, more or less in the whole world. Let these institutions take up, some of these issues if there are concerns that therefore need to raise eyebrows before the eyes of the DCI. The ODPP has actually proven that Kenya's institutions can be tested and they can be able to deliver. So that then we take off, we delink the procedural issues from the legal issues and the political issues. We allow Mheshimiwa to do her politics with the MCAs, but we allow institutions to deal with the issues that they need to deal with, and we allow citizens also to, Because Nairobians are asking for water every day.
Okay.
And if we were to go through the budget, which it is the same assembly that is supposed to pass for the executive led by the governor to be able to implement, there would be questions there. And I don't think we would say, guys, let's come and talk and see how to do it. There is a budget process that has been that is guided by the Public Finance Management Act of 2012. Let it follow due process to the spirit and to the letter. If there are issues, let's as a country, I think, and His Excellency the President and the former Prime Minister have actually showed the way that we can get to a point where we talk but separate the issues. So even in their 2-hour discussion, they were able to separate the 9 core issues which inform the Building Bridges initiative. So I think Nairobi City County also needs to rise to the occasion and ask themselves, how come MCAs have attempted to impeach until yesterday a sitting speaker 2 times?
Yeah,
What is this thing that is happening that we are not seeing?
Yeah, and you know, it begs the question. The court yesterday gave her reprieve. And are we likely to see members of county assembly following the court ruling?
That is very tough, and that is again, I keep on saying, going the legal way does not sort out the mess. It doesn't at all. And you know, my word to MCAs, who I respect very much, is you cannot always solve problems through the path of impeachment. You can't be talking about impeachment every single day. At some point, you have to stop talking about that and then do what? Get down to work. So again, dialogue. They have to talk. And the issue of you know, a court ruling and, you know, giving a backup position, number one, makes her look like an imposed speaker. And for her to be able to function as a speaker in the assembly, you know, she must have the support of all the MCAs. So that is why I think whoever decided to send her back, you know, through a court order and all that, must remember that she's going to work with people who've actually voted to send her away, right?
Okay.
So the best advice could be, go back to the assembly, you guys sit down and come to some kind of agreement, which of course allows you to work together. That is it.
Okay.
Those are not kids you can tell, now you sit down, I'm going to be your teacher. No. They voted to send her away.
Okay.
So they have to sit down, they have to sort out the issues. Very, very, you know, you cannot work like robots at the end of the day.
Okay. Mr. Osido, the same question I've asked Mr. Iyeyo. Are we likely to see MCAs follow that court order?
I think MCAs are they are legislators at the county level. They are honorable members, and that honor comes with something, and part of that being honorable is that you also follow the law. So I am very confident. Many of them are my friends. Most of them are people that we have worked with in one way or another. I don't think there are people who would want to involve in wars with courts. You know, so if you are told this is your speaker for now, you didn't follow ABCD, address those issues, which is partly what we are saying. That if it is about giving her a platform to also share her views, give her an opportunity to be heard, do it, because that is really a rule of natural justice. The question is for you, if this or your sister or auntie being you know, taken through this kind of procedure in a county, another county, as a speaker, what is the best picture that you'd want to see? I think most of us would say, okay, we have raised our issues, the court has said give her a hearing, let's give her a hearing, and if those issues are not conclusive and they are not as convincing, impeach her. Then we begin to ask ourselves, so who can be a speaker for Nairobi City County, and what do we need to do to strengthen our institutions, because the office of the County Assembly Speaker is indeed a very powerful position at the county level.
Okay. I'd like us to look at Elachi's statement yesterday, and this is what she said. She's accusing Nairobi MCAs of being malicious and targeting her for her tough stand against corruption.
Okay. You know,
how true is her statement?
I remember my reading of the doctrines of equity and the English common law. The second doctrine says, he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. Yeah, so when she accuses MCAs of, you know, being malicious and attacking her because, you know, she has a very strong stance against corruption, you know, allegations can be made. I can come here and say I'm a priest, but how do I act? So if she claims to be cleaner than the MCAs, can we say that? I don't know. So the malice, I don't know. As he said, there was a threat of impeachment way back in June. So you cannot say they did it hurriedly. No. So there was a threat at some point, and most likely the kind of changes they wanted to see in her behavior, you know, have not been done, witnessed. And that's why they took action. I'd like to have a situation in which she's given easy time to work.
Okay.
But that is, you cannot achieve that by calling MCS malicious.
Okay.
You know, with the kind of action they've taken.
Okay.
So I'd like her to tone down a rhetoric, reach out to the leadership of the House, that is the minority and majority leader. They sit down and then talk.
Okay.
I'm very sure they can always find a way out. And I think when it comes to issues of corruption and all that, I think we have a national consensus now that we have to actually get rid of corruption. So it's not going to be something you can push from your end to another end.
Okay.
You tough and so on, so it's not. No, I think as Kenyans now we've made a decision. So she cannot say now she has a stronger stance against corruption compared to MCS. At the end of the day, she's going to be the leader in the assembly. So she has to learn to work with them. She has to find a way, common ground.
Okay.
Yes.
And as we bring this conversation to an end, Mr. Osido, just apart from these allegations leveled against Beatrice Elachi, do you think that there might be some hidden agenda in all this? Like there's someone who wants her out of office?
This is already ongoing, and I think in part of her statement, she also said she's looking forward to seeing really what is the party position and who this is, rather what this is really up to. Hidden agenda, no hidden agenda, Nairobians want service delivery. People want to see the county government work together with the county assembly to deliver those promises that Mheshimiwa Sonko went around even lying to be tread on by vehicles and all that. That show of might and show of leadership is the same picture that the Nairobians, and of course the vigor and zeal, is the same zeal and vigor that Nairobians are looking forward to. That is going to be able to ensure that services are delivered to the people. Two is institutions need to be strengthened. So if it is about political parties, because Mheshimiwa Elachi got into this position from a political party perspective, and the CGA, the County Governments Act, is very clear around who can be a speaker, who cannot be a speaker, and a procedure of being a speaker. And that's how she got herself there. If there are gaps and lapses in that, then those gaps need to be picked, if it is from the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, or it is from the Jubilee Party itself, or it is from within the Office of the Speaker herself, or her personality that is not endearing to the members of the Assembly. Those are things that we can deal with from institutional perspective and also personal perspective. But I think the overarching call here is leadership, leadership, leadership. And if it is a matter of handshakes, I think like Abel is advocating for, I am also looking forward to seeing that happening. If the minority and majority can shake hands with the speaker, so that then services are delivered. But I think the bigger call again is most of the county assemblies are going through this. It's just that this happened to have happened today when the ASAL conference was going on. In fact, we were with Mheshimiwa Elachi in Malindi yesterday, and the number of phone calls that she was receiving, and even suddenly her demeanor just went off and she felt very disgruntled. Citizens or voters do not want a leader who wakes up thinking, who is going to impeach me today? Who is going to support me today? They want to wake up from their houses and their beds, walking into those offices with a call to leadership and call to service, that I have been put in this office as a chief officer. I don't care about what my appointing authority is thinking about. I have terms of reference that I'm supposed to deliver. There's a service charter from the county that I'm supposed to follow in terms of the discharge of my duties. I am supposed to conduct myself in a particular manner. And all these are things which they go through in their orientation. So they are aware about it. Even the MCAs are aware about it. So whether politics or not, I think the citizens are looking forward to service delivery, service delivery, service delivery.
Okay, thank you so much, gentlemen, for talking to us this morning here on KTN News Center. We have been speaking to Abel Oyeyo, who is a political advisor to Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko, and also Kevin Osido, who is a governance expert from County Governance Watch. Just talking about the county politics of Nairobi following the impeachment motion against a Speaker of the County Assembly, Beatrice Elachi. It is a developing story, of course, because the court gave a reprieve to Elachi, saying that she has to remain in office, and we are yet to see whether the County Assembly members will follow the court ruling. We are also yet to hear from the embattled County Assembly Speaker, Beatrice Elachi, what she has to say about this, because she only spoke before she was impeached. So we've not heard from her after she was impeached and also after the court issued their order. So we shall keep you updated concerning that.